Hi! This instructional video is about functions and relations. Functions and relations. All this time you've been talking about functions. For example, y is equal to x plus 2. That's a function. And you could graph this function by using the table of values, x and y. For example, you would choose the numbers like 0, 2, so y became 2. If you put x as 1, 1 plus 2 is 3. Like if you put 2, 2 plus 2 is 4. That's a function. There is a relation between the x and the y. And if you graphed it, all you had to do was, using the table of values, plot those points, 0 and 2, 1, 2. And then 1, 1, 2, 3. And then 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And kept going and going until you end up with a line. And that's how you graphed it in the past. Okay? Well, what you are actually doing, representing a graph to show a function between or relation between the variables x and y. When you have an input of 0, you'll have one output of 2. For every input, there's an output. For every input, there's an output. For every input, there's an output. Also, later on in the year, you'll be studying about a thing called quadratic functions. Y is equal to x squared, let's say. Okay? And using that table of values to graph that, you will say 0. And if you put 0 squared, that's a 0. 1. And if you put 1 squared, that's a 1. Then you go negative 1. Negative 1 squared is also 1. Oh, so sometimes you could have 2 inputs and still have 1 output. Yeah, kind of like, if you have a blender at home. Yeah, a little blender, you know what a blender is, right? The thing where you put all your fruits and vegetables and you grind them up and, you make it into a smoothie. How do you make a smoothie? Well, you put strawberries in there. Sometimes you put watermelon in there. I love watermelons. You put some sugar in there and ice. And what do you get? You get a fruit smoothie. So you put all these different inputs and you still get one output. That's a function. It's a terrible example, but that's a function. You could have more than one inputs at a time and still get one output. But can you imagine what would happen if you put one strawberry inside? And when you pour it back out into the glass, you get some unidentifiable things that you did not put in? Can you have one input and suddenly get like 2, 3, and 4, something like that? Something's wrong there, guys. That is not a function. So, the bottom line is, you could have 1 or 2 or more inputs and still get one output. That's a function. However, you cannot put 2, 3 different, you cannot put one thing in and get like many different things out of it. That is not a function. No, no, no. So now, looking at this ordered pair, can you tell that we have one input and one different output? One input, one output. One input, they're all different. So by looking at it, can you determine if this relation between x and y, inputs and outputs, if it's a function? This one? Yes. What's the domain? Domain are all the x terms or x values, so it becomes 1, 2, 3, and 4. What's the range? Range is also known as the y values or the output, so they become 3, 6, 9, and 12. And it's a function. See quickly if you could determine if those 3 things are a function, and if it is, name the domain and range. Good. Now look at this. These are inputs. 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 And I just said, remember, in the blender, you could put many things in there. But are these many things? No, they're all same thing. I'm putting one thing in, but I keep getting different outputs. Can you put one thing in that are the same and get 4 different outputs? No, no, no. So this is no, not function. Why? Because for one input, I'm getting 4 different outputs. That's a no can do. I wouldn't drink that if I were you. How about number 3? I put this in, I get this. I put something different in, I get the same thing. Seems like I get the output same thing. I'm getting same outputs. Is that a function? Yes, in this case it is. Because I'm putting different things into the blender. I'm putting strawberries like -2, watermelons like 0, 2 like ice, and sugar like 4. And all together, I'm getting all same thing out, which is fruit smoothie. So this is a function. So how do you indicate the domain? Well, you will have 4 different domains. They are -2, 0, 2, and 4. Those are all domains. And what I get is a whole same thing mixed together, which is the range, and that is just 4. So does that mean all I have to look for is same input? If I see that there's the same x, then it cannot be a function. That's right. If the x, any of the x's are the same, that is not a function. So can you see if any of them are x are the same? Ding. Yeah. There's an x. There's an x. You cannot have same x's. So therefore, this is not function either. Good. Now, let me show you. This was if you are given order pairs to determine if the relation is a function. But sometimes they will draw you a graph. So for example, can you tell by looking at the graph which is a function? So let me give you a little quick tip on that one. Now to determine if a graph is a function, use a thing called vertical line test. What that means is, whatever the line they give you, if you're able to draw at anywhere on that curve or the line, a vertical line through it, and if it crosses that function line only once, then yes, it's a function. If you have some sort of a function, and if you draw a line at the worst case scenario, a vertical line through it, here look, you're drawing a line, ouch, and ouch. It crossed 2 places. Then it is not a function. That's all there is to it. Vertical line test says, draw a line through anywhere on that function, and it should only cross once. If it only goes through once, yes, it's a function. However, if it crosses at the worst case situation more than once, no, that's not a function. So given that, function, not function. Function. Because if you draw a line through anywhere, you should cross it 1 time. Yes. Function, not function. That's right, still a function. Crosses only once. Yes. Function of a circle, x squared plus y squared equals 1. With the origin. Function, not in our real number system, no. See? Ouch! Ouch! Not function. How about this one? Yes! Anywhere you draw it, it will cross at once. So yes, it's a function. There you have it, vertical line test.